The Heddon name, of course, is synonymous with bass fishing. James Heddon, with his beginnings in the late 1890s, carving a Heddon frog that's very, very rare, started the company in the early 1900s and remained geared toward bass fishermen up until 1924, when the catalogs first introduced a bamboo fly rod. Heddon is actually one of the few companies that manufactured their own rods as opposed to having others build rods and retail them through their stores. This Model 35 was first known as the Peerless rod. It was the only fly rod that appeared in 1924 and 1925 catalogs. The rod also remained in production all the way till the last bamboo rods showed up in the Heddon catalogs in 1951. This rod, the Deluxe, had a name change in 1934. We're able to date this rod based on some of the ink markings on the shafts. In 1934, they started with a 2 and 3 line mark, which helps us identify the date.
I started fly fishing when I was about 16. At first, you're all into the high-end rods that are graphite and super techy, new and cool. And then I think as you progress in your fly fishing over time, your taste developed differently about casting and about presenting the fly. And I think that ties eventually to bamboo and the history of fly fishing. There's also a really crazy connection on the circle of bamboo and its natural state and how it feels. I think there's something really different about that. The rod is really gorgeous. I don't want to see it all shiny brand new. I want to see that it's been used, that it has a little wear on it, and how beautiful the silk wraps are. They're this really dark chestnut color over the dark cane. You'll see the spots that his hand touched and wore on, but you'll notice that it's still nickel silver underneath. It's really fine, beautiful thread work. Each one of these little banding wraps are exact. A lot of modern rods now are very forgiving. They might hide some of your mistakes as you're casting and go ahead and make a decent cast. Well, this rod, if you shift your hand position, if you don't have it balanced right with a good reel and correct line, I found that it made it much more of a challenge to cast correctly. Then as I started getting used to this rod and the balance and feel, I also figured out that it was doing what my hand said. So in a way, as a caster, that can be either hurtful if you're a terrible caster, or if you're a good caster, you can tell it what to do and it will act appropriately. You know, I love bamboo. It forces me to slow down. I can feel it changing me as I cast. It's an amazing thing. What a special experience to actually have the museum send us a rod that we get to fish from that collection. Things that not only to help share with people the history of what it is, but how they can still be used today. We are so lucky to have the American Museum of Fly Fishing. That is our fly fishing Smithsonian, for lack of better terms. Being here in the Ozarks and having Bass Pro Shops Museum here, we now get to have the satellite location of the American Museum of Fly Fishing right here in Springfield. Fly fishermen that held the same passion over all of these years that we all do. That's one of the greatest things about fly fishing. We have an amazing camaraderie in our sport that ties so deeply to a smaller portion of actual fishing. It's what I'm really, truly passionate about.